Hello everyone, welcome to Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark, and welcome back if you're joining us again. Today I have a tag, and it's a tag created by Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics, and it's the mispronounced words or names tag. So I've gone for both, that's how I took it. And to be honest, this video triggered me a little bit because, I'm an English teacher, and these things frustrate me. Now, don't get me wrong, I teach primarily foreigners to speak English, or people who don't have English as a first language, in which case I absolutely have no problem with it because, it's not their fault, they're learning how to pronounce things. And of course, another difficult thing with this is that, different dialects, different accents do pronounce things differently. So I can't really say because Americans have such crazy pronunciation for things that they're wrong, because that's just the way they say it, I suppose. Although I'd like to. I mean, for example, why should an American know that Edinburgh is Edinburgh and not Edinburgh? I mean, an American, of course, would say Pittsburgh. They don't say Pittsburgh. Or do they? I don't know. But, very often when I was at university in Edinburgh, you'd get American tourists come along and say, gee, Edinburgh is such a nice place. And of course we're like, it's Edinburgh. But as I say, they say Pittsburgh. So they look at Edinburgh and they see Edinburgh. Nothing wrong with that. So yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I hold my hands up. I absolutely butcher foreign words. And of course I can butcher English words if it's the first time I say it. I noticed when I was doing some of the read alouds that I would come across words I'd never seen before, so I didn't necessarily know how to say it. And that's a saving grace, for example, with a language like Czech, because it's phonetic. If you can read it, you can say it, which is nice. You don't have any of these problems because you can, write any word if you hear it, and you can say any word if you see it. So that does make things and life a lot easier. English, of course, isn't like that at all. I mean, when you have words like success, where you have two C's next to each other, both of them are pronounced differently. So, yeah, well, I'm going to start off with a couple of names that I notice people mispronounce. And it's, for example, things like Marjorie Banks, which is not correct. It's Marchbanks. Cholmondeley, which is not correct. It's Chumley. Beauchamp or Beauchamp, it's not correct. It's Beecham. And that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Because all those names look like look like how they should be pronounced, which is very useful. Another name that's often mispronounced is when you have Saint John and you have it all together. People still say so-and-so is, I don't know, Reginald St. John Smith. But, we wouldn't say that in English. It's Reginald St. John Smith. Yeah? I mean, you should know that, shouldn't you? It's obvious. Really. I do get annoyed when I see, for example, English speakers pronounce the German or Czech name Jan as Jan, because I would say it's not that difficult to learn and to change to say Jan instead of Jan. But I get very picky about these things. And as I said, I've had serious cases where I've been speaking a foreign language, Japanese for example, whereas instead of asking for the bill in a restaurant, I asked for an enema. So yeah, it does happen. One of my favorite, if you allow me a moment to talk about one of my teaching experiences, and I'm not laughing at the person, it's just funny how a mispronunciation can lead to funny circumstances. Years ago I had a student who came to me with a big smile on their face, and they were like, Mark, I have poopies. And this was an adult, and I was sitting there going, I'm sorry? He said, yes, Mark, I'm so happy. I have poopies. I'm like, you have poopies? And you probably guessed by now, the person was talking about puppies. But, as I said, Czech is phonetic, so they kind of, well, I guess they would have said poopy-s, but they knew that IES was E's, right? But they still said the U like an oo. So instead of puppies, they said poopies. So they were excited that they had puppies rather than poopies. Really expect people to pronounce Marjorie Banks as Marchbanks. But I do expect people, for example, to pronounce pronunciation correctly and not say things like pronunciation. It's pronunciation. And I notice either the way we say things affects the way we write them, or the way we write them affects the way we say them. And, I'm not having a go at anyone. I have only been guilty of it myself through typing error. But one of my pet peeves is the your. People too often say you're welcome, so they write you're welcome, but it's nonsense. Of course, it's nonsense. It's you're welcome. You are welcome. And that does, that kind of mispronunciation, does get to me. It's like because people contract have and they say could have, I could have done that. They write could have instead of using the contraction VE. That annoys me. That's their pronunciation, of course, I think affecting the way they write things. So, yeah, I mean, this tag is one I could make a really long video about, but I didn't want to. So I didn't really prepare it because if I had done, I would have sat down for hours writing all these things that annoy me. But as I say, I will never take the mick out of somebody. I actually probably can't say that, can I? No. I will never laugh at somebody for mispronunciation of a word if, of course, it's the first time they've uttered it. Because how do you know, especially in English, how to say a word unless you hear somebody else say it first? And, of course, if the person you hear say it first says it wrong, that's going to affect your pronunciation of it as well. So yeah, I absolutely am not having a go at people for that, but I do think some of the other things I mentioned are things that people, they should know better, really, if they are native English speakers especially, because we all learn that in school. Learned or learnt? So yeah, I could drone on for hours and hours about this, but I'm not going to. And I think it's a wonderful tag. Alan tagged a huge number of people, and so I'm going to take the easy way out and just say, if you like this and you want to talk about some of the mispronounced names or words that annoy you or that you've come across, then I invite you to do the tag. And now I'm going to schedule the video before I head off to shul. Steve, if you're watching, that one was just for you. Thank you very much, everybody. Do take care. Bye-bye.